70s, but we can't say it now.
But black people said it because we moved into this post-racial ideology, this colorblind ideology that says if we don't talk about race, if we don't name race, if we don't speak certain racialized terms, and somehow the world will be racially better, and it's simply not true. I don't have a problem with a sitcom or with you as an esteemed journalist using the N-word in context because it has explanatory value. Do I think that white people should be using it? Absolutely not. Do I think someone with a biracial son should be confused about this? Absolutely not. I always find it remarkable that white people find the N-word usage such a complicated puzzle. It's not that complicated. Just don't use it. You just have to accept. Well, let me finish the thought, though. You just have to accept that there are some things in the world, just at least one thing that you can't do that black people can, and that might just be okay.
Wait, I'm not talking about me. Wait.
Hang on, Buck.
I'm
going to let Wendy finish.
But what about the huge consumers? What about the huge consumers of hip-hop who have been exposed to a new sort of reclaimed usage of the word through music? So when a teenage boy uses it with his teenage friend as a term of endearment, I mean, I'm not fighting
black
to use
people,
the word, but he's a consumer of hip-hop.
No, but Mark, I hear white kids said, I have to tell you, I was in Ohio in October, coming up on the election, and I was with a white kid in his late teens, early 20s in college. He was talking to another white friend, and they both were calling each other that term, and I was like, at first he was on the phone with him, and I thought he was talking to his black friend. And then we went and met him, and he was talking to his white friend. So it's not just black people using that word as a term of endearment.
I would be happy if no one used the word as a term of endearment. All I'm saying is that white teenager, that white 20-something should learn that, yes, you can listen to the music, yes, you can hear those words, but it doesn't mean you have to repeat them, because the truth is they can turn that music down and pull their pants up, and why are white people fighting so fiercely for the right to use the N-word? Just let it go.
I know one white person who's fighting fiercely to have a say in this, and that's Buck Davis. So Buck, go ahead.
I have trouble comparing those words, Don, because you can't compare the stories behind those words. So let's take cracker, for instance. If anybody calls me a cracker, big deal. There's no power associated with it. You call me a honky, there's no privilege, no power associated with it. Now, if generations of my people had been systematically, categorically discriminated against, and some of them lynched while mobs of people screamed, "Kill the honky," "Goodbye, cracker," that would be different for me. The narrative around the N-word carries so much evil attached to it that for many of us in the majority, we have a hard time connecting to the depth of the pain. That word has been used to demoralize, dehumanize, to paralyze, and sometimes kill groups of people. And from what I know from my friends and family who are people of color around the country, when they hear that word, it cuts to the bone.
Buck Davis, Mark Clement Hill, Wendy, stand by. We're going to continue that right after a quick break.
I'm still going to sing in my car to music I paid for.
Right after a quick break. We'll be back, and we'll hear Wendy. So Wendy, you know, when you said that, you reminded me of the Chris Rock skit where he's talking about when he's with his white friends and the rap song is on, and when he gets to the part for the N-word, they're like, "Ah, ah," and then they start whispering, and he goes, I know when they're in their car alone or they're home alone, they're screaming it to the top of their lungs. You're still going to sing along and say the word. Why you think that's okay?
Well, my kids and I follow this great YouTuber who tells us to insert a W, so we say wigga when we sing. But that's our way of doing it. But let me tell you this, we have to think about context here. We're talking about specifics of one word, but let's talk about taboo words in general. The one that hurts me the most, by the way, is the C word. But when people say it, it illuminates to me what it tells me more about them than me. But we have to consider, you know, if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, then the power to harm is in the ear of the listener. And the truth is, the most dangerous thing about a racist culture is not individual acts of discrimination that happen. It's actually an overall, an internalized, psychological, internalized sense of feeling less than in a culture because of how media may portray things. So if you're walking around with this internalized sense, sense, because you look at every magazine and it's got people that do not look like your family on the covers, then of course, when you hear that word, there's more chance it will feel more painful.
I'll tell you, Don, I think one of the reasons why so many people are unnerved because Paula Deen admitted to saying that she said the N-word is because I think a lot of white people are still using the N-word. And if you're calling her racist because she admitted to saying it a long time ago, and if you don't say it, then I'm not talking to you. But if people, I think people are rattled because if you're calling her racist because she admitted to saying it, then you are calling me a racist because I'm still using it, and that's what is lighting a fire, I believe, for a lot of Americans who don't want to hear that they're maybe using words that are associated with racism.
And I think you're right about that, because when we have this discussion, when we talk about Paula Deen, there are people immediately, because you're just telling the story and having a conversation around it, immediately on social media calling you a reverse racist. And I always say, there is no such thing as a reverse racist. That would mean that you're fair to everyone. Right. You can there's no such thing as reverse racism. You're a racist. But just by having that conversation, I think you're right. But here's what I have to say. If you listen to people who support Paula Deen or who don't, their problem is really not with the N-word that she said a few years ago. Their problem is with her seemingly not understanding the cultural references and what is wrong with what she did, and wanting to us, seemingly by coming on television, to feel sorry for the position that she's in and not to feel sorry for her. And people are feeling sorry for her actually because she's so ignorant about what she's not understanding about.
It's also a contradiction of her brand. She is a brand of comfort. She is nurturing. She is nice, she's fun, she's loving, and then for us to hear her say that and not really take full responsibility and be remorseful about it, it's really shocking for us.
Okay. Hey, listen.
It's shocking for some of us.
For some of us, okay.
Okay, yes, shocking for some people. Right. Go ahead, real quickly. Go ahead, Mark.
No, this is exactly what I expect, though, from someone like Paula Deen, because her whole brand is built on the cultural legacy of black folk and black labor and black work. She's just exploiting it and making money off of it. In other words, treating us like the N-word. So I'm not surprised at all, and that's the problem. There's always a relationship between what people say and what they do, and that's why the N-word troubles me so much when white folk use it.
Okay, I have to say this, and listen, I don't think that Paula Deen should, I'm saying my personal opinion on CNN as an anchor, I don't think Paula Deen should be fired. I think that it should be, the marketplace should decide. If you don't like Paula Deen, then you shouldn't buy her products. I don't think anyone should be fired for freedom of speech. Right. Yeah, but the marketplace, not true.
No,
I was going to go to break.
No,
that's not true. That's not true. The marketplace did not decide. Her bosses decided. Corporate America decided. People bought her books. She's number one. Yeah, but they thought it was bad business, but it's not bad business if her books are number one. How do they know what the ratings are going to be the next time Paula Deen comes on, unless they give her the opportunity to come on television again? But that's still not the marketplace. People on Twitter hate all the time.
I agree with you, Don.
Okay,
so you heard it there. I actually think that the gentleman that teaches at the college, I haven't seen a lot of his reporting. He is generally pretty sharp. I thought he was a little out of line on this one, to suggest that Paula Deen has built her entire empire on the back of the blacks. That's just not true. Let's be honest. If you want to believe that all white people have built their empires on the backs of blacks, then you're just not being realistic. You're really not. And in fact, if I were to go back into Paula Deen's history, I could probably dig up 1,000 examples of white people working for her. This was a class thing. As she rose through the ranks, of course she was hiring cheap workers, okay? And whoever was willing to work for cheap, she would hire them. And was she racist? Probably. Probably in a generational sense. That used to be accepted among whites. You got to look at that age thing. Give people time to adapt to new cultural ideas. Is it excusable what she said? No, it's not. It's not. And she's paying for it. So, and she should. I mean, that's justice. So I think it's time we take a new look at these words and understand that somehow we're going to have to figure out a way to be able to demonstrate that we still do have freedom of speech while not hurting people, literally hurting people with words. I am still torn on it, but I'm not going to sit here and fight with myself for your entertainment. Instead, I think what we'll do is I'll just give some closing comments, and then we'll play a little song, which is completely appropriate to this podcast. And here's what I'm going to say about this. I'm not going to be using any terms anymore that should be or could be. I guess anything could be interpreted incorrectly, but I'm not going to use any of the popular terms that are used against race, religion, LGBT, any of that, because I'm a tolerant person. I'm non-racist. I'm non-bigot. I'm non-sexist. There are very few things that I can look across in my psychological spectrum and be proud of, but that's one of them. Fairness, being fair in my thinking. And here's a good question for you guys that may not have heard some of my previous shows. You want to know if you have some racism in you? Some racism is natural, actually, a little bit. And what I mean by that is feeling more comfortable around a group that looks like you is an entirely natural thing. All right, what happens is when you start getting into actions that put another group that doesn't look like you at a disadvantage in any way, that's when you begin to creep into racism. And racists come from all racists. I'm tired of hearing some black people say, well, black people can't be racist. Well, yes, they can. Please have a look at Webster's dictionary. Then again, that was written by white people. We can't trust it. I don't know what to say to them. We can't even agree on a language. So there's no debate there to have. They just want to hate white people, and they're going to. Fine. I can't have a discussion with that person. They're not using their brains. In the same way that white people who are always saying the N-word and saying that blacks are inferior and can't do anything, and same problem. I can't have a discussion with them. They're not using their brains. They're using hatred. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about it is that if you're going to use the word in a playful way, I think it should be something that your social group that you're using it with agrees upon first. And I've been using it in podcasts and live shows here that I didn't have agreement. I didn't have consensus from people. I just said, well, fuck it. Dave Chappelle ruined it for us. Let's go ahead and keep playing with it. But this is not a piñata. This is something that has deep roots and deep harm. And for that reason, I'm going to avoid using any of those words anymore, even though I've never had racism in my heart. The words themselves are weapons. They are weapons. And it's an illusion. It is a myth that sticks and stones are the only thing that can hurt someone. A myth. So what I'm going to do now is there's a song that I want to play that I think plays with language a little bit. And since we were talking about racism and hip-hop was mentioned a couple of times, it is hip to be cube, rap like a pirate. What do you think about that? Rap like a pirate. I think I'm going to find out what you think about it.
This is Don Imus. You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead. You're going to like it, or I'll kick your ass.
Truth on Tap is now flowing from iHeartRadio. Get your Kierstead fix by Googling Truth on Tap with Kevin A. Kierstead. All the truth you can handle running hot on iHeart, Facebook, Spreaker, and more. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth on Tap.
What in the devil? Shiver me timbers. That's the scumbags that scallywags and drag. Batten down the hashes and raise the black flag. Best be known Davy Jones, Phoebe Helmsman here. Best be showing 4 rounds of well-headed beer. I'll hold you from the bow to the keel and low. Wave to you from the captain's window. Democracies on these seas, no room for mutinies. Scoreless behavior receives close scrutiny. Are you rash, ready? Are you rough, rude? Are you able to tell what the hell is latitude? Can you chart stars and bootleg gold bars through port authorities to porn bazaar? Plug the bung hole if you qualify. Savvy me, hearty grogs, be me best bride. Take another bride, last we leave you at port. Lose both me legs before I come the Marion sword.